Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Jenna Cottrell alongside Dan Fates here, up at Orchard Park, wrapping up practice for the Bills on Thursday. Before you go any further, stop, like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. It continues to help the channel grow. Okay, Jenna, I think the main storyline today was
injuries.
and lots of them.
Yeah. I mean, Sean McDermott talked about it. He listed some of the things going on. Now, it was good to see Dane Jackson out there. He was in a red non-contact jersey. He was off to the side. He was not practicing. But you add in Jordan Poyer now, also dealing with an injury. He is dealing with a foot issue.
Yep.
And then there's the other players. Micah Hyde, I did not see him at practice, nor did I see Jordan Phillips out there either. That's a lot of key guys for this team.
And those are guys that weren't practicing at all. And then you also had a couple of guys that were trying to practice, most mainly Gabe Davis, who obviously rolled his ankle last Saturday, didn't play in the Monday night game. And I'll be honest with you, doesn't look 100% ready. Now I think you can look at a bunch of different video.
Sorry, I'm trying to rally.
I think you can look at a bunch of different video, Jenna, but it's funny because we got done from practice and you said one thing and I said the other.
So I was looking at the portion of video that I got during the individual work. So that's ladders. We're talking about just running routes essentially against air, stuff like that. And then you saw more of an up close look at Gabe Davis when that wasn't the case.
Right. You saw the beginning of the media availability for practice. I saw the end of it, which was when he was actually taking routes from Josh Allen. And there were a couple of routes where I think he looked fine getting off the line. I think he looked fine into breaks. It was coming out of the breaks that he definitely seemed a little gimpy.
Yeah.
Now, Gabe Davis is as tough as they come. I tweeted, I'm not a doctor, in the words of Rex Ryan, but I'm not sure if he's ready to play on Sunday. They asked Gabe Davis in the locker room after practice, and he said he was 100% optimistic that he would play on Sunday.
Yeah.
To that, I will say, well, what else would he say? Gabe is as tough as they come. It looked like he was trying to gut out practice. I think he really wants to play.
Yeah.
But he's also not going to be the one that makes the final call.
I agree with that. You're right. And that's the key there. He will not be the one to make that final call. At the same point, I think all of these guys are super tough. But that being said, I don't think Gabe Davis is as healthy as we thought he would be maybe after not playing last week against the Titans. So that's just something to monitor. Look, we saw Stephon Diggs step up in that role big time against Tennessee. But at the same point, I think maybe we just thought that Gabe Davis would look a little bit better. And again, I saw it from my vantage point of him very fluid, going through the ladders, all that stuff. But the video that you showed me, it showed a little bit of a different story, maybe him favoring that ankle. So that's just something to watch out for. Because again, if he's going to be out there and gets the okay to be out there, you will see Davis, but will he be in the same capacity that we expect? That will be in question.
I think two factors play into this. Obviously, he rolled it on Saturday, so we're still not even a week into this injury. He's had ankle injuries. He had ankle injuries last year. It's something that has lingered for him, as well as we're in week 3. And I think that Sean McDermott and this coaching staff is always going to err on the side of caution, especially when it comes to injuries, because did you know it's a 17-game season? It's a long season.
I've heard.
Other injury updates, Ed Oliver looked okay, I'd say so, as well as Tim Settle. So those were two guys, again, that didn't play, that looked pretty fresh. Matt Milano was out there. He was okay after he left last game with a stinger.
The issue to me is just how many key guys we are listing, and that's kind of the scary thing going into this Miami game. I think obviously the Bills are a more talented team, but when you have those injuries and how many they are and the fact that they're beginning to stack up, that is just the one thing that concerns me because it's a divisional game, it's on the road, you know it's going to be hot down there, and this Miami team has a lot of confidence coming into this game.
So let's go into this Miami game, and this Miami team that was one of 3 teams last Sunday to win with having a less than 2% chance of probability of getting the win. The Jets did it, the Dolphins did it, and the Cardinals did it. Yes, exactly. And Jenny, you asked, does that put you on high alert as a team like the Bills?
I asked Von Miller and Stephon Diggs, and Von Miller was like, "What do you mean?" And I was
the worst feeling in the world.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, cool. great for me. But I just meant more so like, does that stay with you? Like it's the NFL. There's no lead that's too much. And Stephon Diggs was like, yes. Like we try to score until Sean McDermott tells us to stop scoring because of the way this league is built. And last week was the perfect example of that. And again, this team that the Bills are going to be facing off against came back from a 21-point deficit in the fourth quarter. Like that is something that if I were playing on the Bills, I would have in the back of my mind. You're always going to have that, but the recency bias of, hey, this team believes that they can do it, and they just did it. But that being said, we've seen how prolific this Bills offense has been, and this will lead us into another point.
I want to finish one more point on the Dolphins.
Okay.
The Bills talk about Tyreek Hill the way they talked about Aaron Donald.
Yes,
with that respect, well, I just see Aaron Donald as this maybe the greatest defensive player of all time.
Yeah.
The Bills have that same level of respect for Tyreek Hill. Look, he has beat them before. He has beat them in big games and has big plays. But it's fascinating to me where he's universally, once again, respected and revered by everybody.
I mean, I think what you've seen his body of work, he should be. Like, they know they've gone up against him a lot over these last couple of years in particular, obviously with Kansas City. But I think the Bills need to have respect for him because of the way that they've been able to he's been able to beat them. And that speed you talk about, like sometimes it is just a guy being faster than another guy, and especially with where the secondary is looking, we're not exactly sure in terms of the injury front. That's just another reason for them to be like, we have to. And again, they were already going to take it seriously. But I understand why they hold Tyreek Hill in such high esteem in terms of his play on the field, because it deserves it.
But I'll go off that where I think a lot of us, myself included, thought Tyreek Hill is a product of Patrick Mahomes. And that him coming to Miami was like, well, he's fast, but he's got Tua throw.
Tua get him the ball.
So I guess in that respect, he is showing that Tyreek Hill is the type of wide receiver, like Stephon Diggs has been for Josh Allen, that has risen the play of his quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that is very frightening. Obviously, I don't believe Dane Jackson is probably not going to play. So you have Christian Benford and Kyer Elam. And on Tuesday, Leslie Frazier was asked, look, Kyer Elam, and I remember Mike Catalana, Mike? I remember him talking about on draft night that, like, when you draft a corner in the first round, you're expecting him to start, and you're expecting him to, fair or unfair, cover a guy like Tyreek Hill. And that's, unfortunately, there's not really anybody in the league that raises their hand and says, yeah, give him to me.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be the biggest test. Leslie Frazier talked about how those young corners are going to be tested, and they're not sure exactly what they're going into, a little bit of uncharted territory. They've had 2 games under their belts, but at the same time, you're stepping up in weight class. And when you have a receiver like Tyreek Hill, who, again, is just faster, I mean, that's going to be a huge challenge, especially for the young corners out there. But, I mean, this Bills team, I think, Von Miller talked about the depth and what you need to have, and what's the famous quote? What did Marv say?
Depth is great until you have to use it.
Yeah, but Von Miller talked about how important it is to have guys be at that same level coming up and subbing in for a guy. So I guess we'll get to see that this week. But
yeah, we will get to see that.
I mean, I feel like last year the Dolphins were, kind of poo-pooed, and I thought, there's some talent. But now with Mike McDaniel and the talent that they've brought in, I mean, look, they've had a great 2 weeks. Is that
confidence?
Is that a flash in the pan? We're not sure yet, but at the same point, this is a team that's in the division. You're going to see them multiple times a year. It's just something to take note of, and the Bills should need to kind of, I feel like, take care of business early on and kind of set the precedent of, like, this is our division. You have to go through us to get there.
Okay, one more thing. We got really dark. So we're just going to lighten this up as the clouds came. So we're going to go like that. And we're going to finish on the last point, which is something I harped on the Buffalo Plus podcast and the vlog that we put out yesterday. The Bills' running game is just not...
Okay, I'm going to set this up because you're just going to talk for 7 minutes, so I want to make sure that I get this in here. All right, we talked on the Buffalo Plus podcast about the Bills' need for a running game. It needs to be efficient. It should.
You guys did.
Mike and I did, and Dan was adamantly against it, all of these things. Dan, today at practice, you got to ask Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs about passing the ball, specifically in that game where they passed it 21 straight times. What was the response?
Well, I was curious in the sense of, obviously it's Ken Dorsey calling plays, and I can't even imagine what goes into calling plays at an NFL level.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't Madden as much as we may want to try and make it out to be. But it's the fact of, I was wondering, like, when Josh gets in that rhythm, it's almost like Steph Curry pulling up from half court. It's like you just let him go. Like he's just in one of those moods. And I asked him to, do you talk to Joe Brady and say, hey, tell Ken to keep throwing the ball, like keep feeding me. See running backs all the time. I need carries. Keep giving me the ball.
Yeah, touches.
And Josh said, like, you're either throwing the ball a lot because you're down or you're vibing. And he just said, like, that's one of the things was just that, like, you're in one of these grooves. And
I loved because Stephon Diggs said it's both a mode and a mood.
Yeah. And Josh went on to say that their passing game can be their running game, which is something I have stressed time and time again. It's what the Patriots did with Brady and Welker and Edelman. It's all of those things. It's high percentage throws. And I didn't say that.
Oh, you're right.
Josh Allen said that.
Can I tell you when Josh Allen said that, I internally eye rolled. I was like, oh, great. Now we have to hear Dan. And then Stephon Diggs actually finished your sentence.
I asked him, I said, Josh thinks that your guys' passing game can be, and he goes, running game. I'll finish your sentence for you. Yeah, and that there will be running plays called that Josh can just look at Diggs, and Diggs joked that he goes, I can kind of see the game through him. It's a different position, but I can give him a little wink, and it's a quick throw, and it's just 4 yards. But he said not only that, it gets Josh in rhythm. And I think that's where I go back to thinking about, like, basketball. Like you get in the flow of a game, and it's you feeding the hot hand. And guess what? 15 times out of the 17 times this year, Josh Allen is going to have the hot hand, and it's not going to be a running back. So I will step off my soapbox now.
Okay, my thing is I'm not saying this should become a running team at all. I'm just saying you have to be able to be efficient when you do decide to run it.
Pass.
Just the worst. You see what we deal with? I can't even, again, when Stephon Diggs finished your sentence, I was like, I should just leave because I'm just going to get so annoyed.
Bad day for the Dan haters. Bad day.
Tally. All right. Please be sure. This is divulged into just chaos, but it usually does. For Dan, I'm Jenna. Please be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. And also be sure to check out Buffalo Plus Live on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Wow, it's bright now. And yeah, it's officially fall. All right. Thanks, folks. We're just going to end it. Whatever.